Good morning. Welcome. Tuesday, January 13th. How you doing? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and a software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we just practice vanilla. That's it. No, don't read into it. It's not a conspiracy. We don't hate frameworks. We don't hate libraries. We just like to practice the basics. You know, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the three things that a browser natively renders. That's all. We just practice and hang out and have a good time because we're nerdy. So, welcome to the, well, I guess it's not really the first Tuesday stream because last week I did a 5-day sprint, which was Saturday through Wednesday. And we finished a project, so that was amazing. This is the new schedule for 2026, which is Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So I'm pretty excited about that. For the last year and a half or so, it's just been Saturdays and Sundays. So I'm here for it. Rahul is here from Nepal. Welcome. Hello. So happy to have you. Ahmad in the chat. And we have Go Elmo, formerly Go Elmo Go, currently Malik Robinson. And Malik, you have said in the past that you are an open book, so I'm going to let you break the news in the chat. I like the hoops. Nice choice. Well, thank you. I like the hoops too. Okay. Well, should we get started? I am actually pretty excited to start working on this. To start working on this today. In the last couple of days, this weekend, we actually got a ton done on this. This is a design that I made back in 2014 when I was living in San Diego. 2014 is the year that I had my first job as a developer. Oh, and Malik is saying, oh, do you not want to tell people? Do you want me to tell people? Emilio is here. Welcome, Emilio. Also Ahmad in the chat. Emilio is in Nebraska. I hope you're enjoying some mild weather. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we are having a very mild January so far. After having a very cold, snowy, icy December, we're having a very mild January, and things are actually starting to melt. So, hope you are also enjoying some of that nice weather. We're both Midwesterners. Malik says, I got my first internship yesterday as a web design intern. My orientation is February 9th. Yay! We are so happy. We are so happy for you. Yeah, it was Malik was giving me updates on the process to get this internship, and in my opinion, it seemed a little grueling. So I think this is well earned, and we wish you nothing but success. I have every bit of confidence in you that you're going to succeed. So we're very happy. Yeah, so let's get started. Let's continue working on what we started this past weekend. This is a design that I made back when I was living in San Diego. I lived there from 2014, 2015. I had my first job as a developer in 2014. And this design is much different from what I normally do. I still hadn't quite figured out what my aesthetic was back then. I think it's fair to say that my aesthetic is pretty minimal. I tend to be a bit of a minimalist just because it's easy. I don't know. Anyways, even though this is anything but minimal, I think it's still simple, but it's much different from what I normally do, and I really am enjoying it. I have some little things that I want to try today to maybe see if we can add a little color or add a little visual interest to this. But before we do that, we are going to implement the responsive navigation. We completely built out the header, the hero, and the footer this weekend, and we for the most part we have the main body and the footer responsive. Although I do have some tweaks to maybe like the grid and the gap that I want to play with today, but I think our main task for today is working on this responsive navbar. And then I want to kind of dial in on QA. So let's check other browsers, which I have not been good about doing lately. So let's make sure that things are looking okay in Firefox and Safari. Let's also make sure that on iOS things are looking okay in Safari and Chrome is what I have on my phone. So we'll make this a QA day. We'll get this header operating the way it should be. And we're going to make some small adjustments to the design. So, and yes, Amelia says, congratulations. Yes to learning and prospering in the world. And Rahul says, I'm really happy for you. This is your foot in the door and I know you're going to succeed. I completely agree. Malik, I think you are very talented. I think you would have been a great junior. I mean, I know you'll be a great junior developer. I would have been happy to have someone like you on my team. So I have no doubt that you will succeed as well. Okay, so let's close out. This is the GitHub Pages version of the site. I have everything linked down in the description if you want to check the GitHub repository. Let's get our local environment up and running, because I have been known to develop on the live version and wonder why my changes weren't being implemented. So, all right, we'll get started with the header, and I can already tell you the mobile drawer that I want to do is going to be very similar to the site we just built. I really like this dark drawer right here. So I'm going to do a dark drawer, and I'm going to do this, which is a very, very dark maroon. I also want to update a couple of our color choices here on these pill-shaped buttons, or they're not really buttons, they're navigation items, but they're shaped like buttons. We implemented this dark maroon after we built out the header, and honestly I like the dark maroon better. So we're gonna, instead of hovering on teal, we're gonna make it hover on that dark maroon instead. So let's do that. So here's our dark maroon variable. You can kind of see it there. All right, here is our main nav. So instead of let's see here. So I think it's taking it's getting this color. So I'm actually going to change the main link color to dark maroon. And then that should cascade. And then I'm just going to change this to dark maroon. So now we have that darker text. I do like it. I wonder if it should also have a border for contrast, for more contrast against that background image. So, which means I'll probably adjust my padding a little bit, because border, and I like generally 2 pixels of border, but it can still look pretty beefy when you add border. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. So I'm going to do border 2 pixels, solid. And we'll make sure that this is light gray. And then let's just pull this down a little bit. And then let's make sure that we have the same opacity on this border. So let's just put this in. So here's the background color. Here's the border. I feel like they should be the same. But clearly the border yeah, they're the same. Why does that border stand out so much? Can you not put opacity on a border color? I mean, there's no error here, right? I think that's kind of why is the border color not the same as the background color? Does that make any sense? They should be the same, shouldn't they? Well, I'm getting tired of two things. I'm getting tired of like reading documentation to try to answer questions like this, and I'm getting tired of asking ChatGPT to explain things to me. Both things can be true at the same time. So, I think we're just going to keep it the way it is. We're going to sit with it. We're going to sit with it and think about it. Let's, I think we decided that at 10:24, we'll go ahead and make sure that this would be right about here. Here's 10:25, here's 10:23. Let's make sure this is mobile at 10:24. Let's just get started on that. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. And so we're going to hide this nav container, which is right here. So maybe it's a good idea to review what's actually happening here. We have a button that comes immediately before the nav element. We have an aria label open menu, that's for screen readers. We have aria controls main nav. They're sibling elements, so we want to let the screen reader and any assistive tech know, hey, this button controls this element. They happen to be siblings. And then we have aria-expanded false, because by default, the menu is not expanded. We will include in our JavaScript updating this attribute to true when it is expanded and that drawer is popped out. Then we have a button inside the nav element, also an aria label of close menu. We don't need aria expanded because it's inside the element that is or isn't expanded. And we don't need aria controls because it's inside the element that it controls. So So that's how the markup shakes out. I think it's pretty simple. I've been building responsive navigation for like 12 years, and I can tell you that until this last year, until 2025, I really didn't nail down a system, a consistent system that I liked until this past summer, 2025. And this is what I do now. It's accessible, it's straightforward. You can style it to look like anything that you want, and it layout wise, accessibility wise, it's just very straightforward and very easy to deal with, and I like it. So I basically build every navigation pretty much the same way. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony when it comes to navigation, but my priority is usability and accessibility. So there's that. Okay, so the navigation is going to be visibility hidden, position fixed, top 0. I'm going to put it on, well, we could put it on the left or the right. I'm going to do the left because I just kind of like things on the left, I guess. So I'm going to do left negative 300 pixels. And then I'm going to make the width of the drawer 300 pixels, but also put a max width of 100%. So if for some reason the width of the screen was less than 300 pixels, that makes it responsive. We're going to do a height of 100 DVH, which is dynamic viewport height. And then we're going to do a transform, translate X. So X is horizontal, the X axis. And I'm basically just going to set this to 0. We're just going to say that this is like the 0 starting point. So if something goes from 0 to 300, it's a positive number. If something went from 0 to the right, it's a positive 300. If something goes from 0 to the left, it's a negative number. So we're setting it at 0, and then when we transition the transform, it's going to be translate X 300 pixels, which is the width of the container. And then the JavaScript that we write will be that when we click the button, we add a class to the body. So we'll say class, menu active, and we haven't written any JavaScript yet, so I'm just going to add this class. And then when the button is clicked, the class is added, and we let the CSS do all of the work. You could do all of this with JavaScript. In my opinion, it's more efficient to just put a class on the body on click and let the CSS do the work. I think that's a much cleaner, more efficient approach to this. It's the approach that I take. So then we would have transform, translate X, and then this would be positive 300 pixels. We also own visibility. We want to say visibility, visible. So the visibility hidden is what hides it from a screen reader or assistive tech. And I'll show you what that looks like when we test the focus states and the functionality with our keyboard. So visibility hidden hides it from assistive tech like a screen reader. Position fixed is how we literally position it off canvas. And then we'll also want to animate the transform and the visibility. So we'll say transition, transform. I'm going to say 300 milliseconds, and I'm going to use linear, which I think is a little smoother. I used to use ease in out for that, but I do linear now. And then we'll say we're also going to transition the visibility. Visibility, 300 milliseconds, and for this I'll do ease in out. You can do whatever works for you. So now active, navigation, menu active. And we obviously have to style those buttons. Let's do this. Let's make sure that we have a background here. So we'll say background color. I'm going to do the dark maroon. And then we want to style the main nav, which is that UL. So right now, this is flex flow row no wrap. So let's just change the flex direction from row to column, and that'll get us partway there. Just like that. I mean, we obviously have more styling to do here on these buttons. So now here's this menu active. So we kind of like simulate this in the browser. Just going to double click that and delete it. And you can see that that transitions now when it closes. I'll Command Z. You could also Control Z. We'll add that class. And we get a nice transition. Just like that. So now let's add our buttons back in. So we'll leave this here for styling. And let's say hello to a few people. Terry Murray is here. Hello, welcome. Welcome, Terry. We're happy to have you. And Ayush, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Hi, I want to start back end. Please share roadmap or tips. Yeah, Malik's got a good answer here. We are front end focused, but this site is a good starting point to understand the path. Roadmap.sh backend. Good. I'm glad that this is helpful. Yeah, I don't really do backend. I've done a couple full stack apps. I'm really mostly a front end developer. I love front end. I'm very UI, accessibility, search engine optimization focused. That's what I excel at. That's what I'm best at. I set a goal for 2026 to be better at JavaScript. We'll see how that goes. I set that goal every single year. So I think this is my year. I really think this is my year. So, okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this styled. Let's get our buttons added back in here. We have a very good start. So the buttons are display none on desktop, and that's exactly what we want. Display none removes them, basically kind of removes them from the DOM. I mean, technically they still exist, but screen readers will skip over them. They'll completely ignore them with display none. And that's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead in our media query. We'll just say menu button. Whoops. I guess we want to do display block. And, well, actually they're buttons. I mean, I think the default display property is inline block. And I don't think we changed that in our global styles. We did not. Display block is fine. And then the SVGs in our global properties, I always do fill blue, stroke red. And I only do that so I know which is which. So these buttons are both red. That means that they both have a stroke, not a fill. So that just means that I know how to style them. That is why I do that. So we'll say menu button, SVG. What color do we want them to be? I think we want them to be light gray. And we said stroke, right? Short-term memory. Go light gray. There we go. Perfect. And then this one is positioned exactly where I want it to be. The close button, I would like to be positioned over here on the right. The way I do that is very simple. So we'll use the close button class. And I'm literally just going to give this some margin. So the margin is top, right, bottom, left. So I'm going to say 0.5 rems on the top, 0.5 rems on the right, 0.5 rems on the bottom, and I'm going to say auto on the left, and I think that's going to push that over. Yes, that's perfect, and it gives it a little bit of space all the way around. So if we look in our nav element, beautiful. I love it. So let's style those buttons and make sure that they have a hover state. Hover, focus hover active. So let's make sure, so we'll style the menu button class. So we'll give these a background color of transparent. Whoops. A border. I'm going to give these a border radius of 5 pixels. Move this up here. And we'll transition that on, we'll do a transition for the background color. And I'm going to say 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And we're going to do the same thing for the SVG. We'll make sure that this SVG has a transition for the stroke. 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And then we'll do our states. Menu active, focus. Menu active, hover. Menu active, focus, hover, active. And the background color will be light gray. Why does that have like a little linked? Why is that linked? What's going on up here? Light gray. Oh, because of the RGB. Hang on, we can change this back. Okay. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm actually just going to copy this for the SVG. So when we focus hover active on the SVG, we are going to trigger, excuse me, when we focus hover active on the button, we are going to trigger the SVG and change that stroke. So the stroke will be dark maroon. So let's see if it works. Oh, wait a second, what happened here? It just went and changed it. What did I do wrong? Oh, it's not menu active. Hang on, it's the wrong menu button. It's menu button. That's the wrong. There we go. Let's see here. We need to adjust some of our padding. So that's 48 by 51.4. 48 pixels by 48 pixels is the accessible tap target, but it looks a little off kilter because it's a little taller than it is wide. So we'll just adjust the height on that. And same with this. And I think we can just why do I feel like the way I used to style these buttons. Why do I feel like I have to do something different to get my buttons to be square lately? Something just feels off about how I'm styling buttons. And I don't. I want to look at. So here's here's literally the last project we just did. Display block. I do have padding on the button. The button is exactly 48 by 48. The SVG is 40 by 40. That's why I'm not resizing my SVGs. That's why. Okay. So the width of the SVG, okay. Man, sometimes even when I do these back-to-back projects, I just like forget details sometimes. Okay. So a width of, okay, this is a third. Let's just do. So 1.25 by 1.25 for that SVG. And then that means padding would be, I think that's going to be too small. That means the padding would be 0.75 rems to equal 3 all the way around. Yeah, that's too small. What did I do? 40 pixels? What is that in rems? 40 divided by 16. 2.5. 2.5. I mean, it's like 50 first dates every time I start a new project. I'm like, what? Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Am I the only one? No, it's still not square. Is that because of the line? Why would line height be an issue if it's display block? That should not be an issue. Let's just, did I do something different? Button, by default, buttons are display inline block, but we changed that to display block, so that shouldn't matter. Display block. Did I put border none on my buttons? Yeah, I did. I put border none. The line height doesn't matter. Our SVG is 40 by 40. I didn't define a width or a height. .48 by 48. Padding, background color, border radius, display block, border none, cursor pointer. The line height shouldn't matter if it's display block. Hard to tell if I'm doing something wrong or if like did something change in the browser? I guess I'm just going to do a width of 3 rems and a height of 3 rems. I don't know. There we go, 48 by 48. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that when this drawer is open, this icon is not showing. If we'll add JavaScript so you can hit the escape key to close the menu, but I am not going to trap the focus in the menu. It's not a requirement, but it is an accessibility best practice to make sure that users can hit at least the escape key or the close button to close the menu. So that's what I do. In the past on projects, I've trapped the focus inside the menu, and I stopped doing that because I don't think it's necessary. It's not a requirement with accessibility, and as long as the menu isn't completely covering up the page, there's just no reason to do that. So, but we don't want this button to be available to assistive tech or the keyboard if the menu is open. So as long as there's a menu active, we are going to do visibility hidden on the open button. So we've got a close button, we're going to do an open button. So we'll do menu active, open button, visibility hidden. So that removes it from view, and it says to the screen reader, just ignore it. So it's a lot like display none. Visibility hidden and display none are very similar in that they act similar for assistive tech. So if you're navigating with your keyboard, you're tabbing through. If you are using a screen reader, visibility hidden, display none are both ignored. The difference in CSS is that display none will completely remove it from the DOM and it won't even occupy any space. With visibility hidden, this still occupies space. Here's why that's important. If your header relies on the button to hold it open or to have a certain height, display none will instantly collapse that or change the height if you haven't explicitly set a height. Visibility hidden sort of holds that space open. I think hopefully that makes sense. I don't generally put an explicit, one moment. I'm sorry, I had a frog in my throat. I generally don't explicitly define the height of the header. I let the height of the text, the padding, all those things determine the height. And because I don't explicitly define a height, oftentimes something like a button can be like the header is taking on the height of whatever the tallest item is. And if that thing is the button, I don't want to display none it because it can change the height. So that is just a little trick that I have figured out over the years. So, and Malik says, We all get mind flooded sometimes. Yes. I have a terrible memory. I have a decent memory, but like sometimes when it comes to little details, it's like every project is like 50 first dates. So there's that. Okay. Let's finish styling these things right here. They don't need to look like buttons anymore. I want them to look like this. We don't have this other stuff in here. It's just going to be the navigation. So and oftentimes going from desktop to mobile is just kind of a matter of reverse engineering your styles. So let's take out, I'm just going to copy this, put it right here, and we don't need this. We're going to say it's already display block, so that doesn't change. We're going to say border none. We don't need the border radius. I think we do want the text decoration. So these, if I take out text decoration none, then these anchor elements, these links will inherit the styles from the global anchor element. So I think that's what I want. Yes, I do want them to be uppercase. I want them to be this font weight, this font size, have letter spacing. For background color, we'll just go ahead and say none. And we'll take out the transition for both the color and the background color. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? We're inside the media query, right? Background color, none. Well, it took out the border. Why is the background color still there? And then we'll change the color. I feel like I should just be able to say background color none, but I have to say background color transparent. Okay, fine. And we don't appear to be inheriting our text decoration. Oh, we actually are. Text decoration, we have to kind of, we're going to have to redefine those. Okay. Except we want these to be light gray. Am I losing my mind? Why isn't anything showing up? Text decoration color, text decoration thickness, text underline offset. Is it because they're display block? No, why would that matter? Text decoration color, text. Why isn't my text decoration showing up? Oh, do I have to explicitly say auto? I think I must have to. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Okay, I understand. It was none. I have to say underline in the media query. Okay. And then let's make sure that we have the same transition. Some days, I'm telling you. Okay, there we go. Now we just have to make sure. Why isn't our offset working? Okay, let's make sure that we have our transition. What is happening? We want to transition the text decoration color. To be clear, I know what mistakes I'm making as soon as I find them, but then I feel like new mistakes are happening and I'm like, what? Why isn't this working? Is that really a 2 pixel offset? No, we have a 3 pixel offset. It seems so close. Is that just because of the font weight? Okay, we'll change this offset to 5 pixels. It could just be because of the font weight. So, okay, there we go. Sheesh. Now let's make sure that we just have a border. So I'm going to put the border in between the list items. And let's see how tall those are. So yeah, I'm thinking we don't need this much. I don't think we need this much padding. I'm going to take the padding off these anchor elements. I think we do need some padding. I don't think we need that much. I think that these need to be with the 100%. And then we'll say border, bottom, 2 pixels, dotted. And I'm going to do, we could do gray or we could do the regular maroon. And we're going to have to adjust some of the spacing, I know. Yeah, I like that regular maroon. So I think we just need to add margin on the top to make sure the spacing is correct. Maybe 0.5 rems. No, was it margin bottom? What is happening? Oh, I think that needs to go, I think the margin needs to go on the anchor element. I think we also need to get rid of the line height. Do we only want this on the bottom? And then the spacing's still not quite right here. Hang on. We're going to figure it out. Oh, the gap. I have to take off the gap. That's why it's so weird. Okay. Because on the desktop version, the main nav, where is it here? Is display flex with gap. We have to take that gap off. Whew. So we'll just say gap 0. Okay. Now we can put back in our margin and padding. We do want margin and padding on the top and the bottom to space those out. There we go. That's a little better. Let's pull this in from the edges a little bit. What did I do here? These are like perfect. What did I do here? I put padding on the LI. Which means, oh, honestly don't know if this was a good decision. I don't think this was a good decision because the hover or the tap target for this element, it's wide, but it's only 20 pixels tall. I put the padding on the LI. I didn't use any margin. I don't think this matters. I think that's a little better. I mean, it just feels like it has so much space. No, that's not what I wanted. That looks a lot better. So maybe we should invert that because that line underneath is just not making it look evenly spaced out. So let's do that. Let's also make sure. It looks like I just put padding on the nav element. We can do that too, and that's going to pull in that container a little bit. I don't want to do any padding on the top. I'll do 1 rem on the left and right and 1 rem on the bottom. There we go. And then let's invert. Well, we get there eventually. We figure it out. And let's see here. Rayhan says, hello. Is it just me or did you not mirror your face cam today? It feels different. No, it's mirrored. It's definitely mirrored. Let me double check here. Yep, it is. It feels different. I have what can I say? I have a lumpy face. That's what I think, at least. Lumpy face. Okay. Okay, let's invert. So I think the text decoration color by default should be transparent, and then on hover, that can be our gray color. Okay, finally, and we have a nice big tap target now. So now the padding is on the nav element itself, and we have a nice big tap target. They are all kind of right up against each other, which I wonder if that's a good idea. And I think our button, let's remove the button, the margin on that button, because adding the padding to the container pushed it over a little bit. Let's see here. Where's our button? Right here. So this is top right, bottom left. I'm just going to say 0. Yep, that works just fine. Just like that. Yeah. I wonder if we need to add a little margin so we can have some separation. It does look different when you are reading the chat, but it is correct. I don't know. Let's see. I think it's just, yeah, because this is definitely mirrored. Here, should we hold up something? Here. There we go, backwards. See? Kleenex, backwards. So, I think it's just I think I just have a lumpy face. I've always thought that. So, okay. So I'm going to make, oh, not your face, just the direction you were looking made it seem like it was flipped. Oh, so sometimes, okay, well, thank you for that clarity. I'm clearly going to the worst case scenario, aren't I? Which is that I have a lumpy face, which is, nobody needs to know what I think about my face. So there's two places for me to read the chat. There's this right here, and then there's this right here. And lately I've been reading this, even though it's over here. So I don't know. My layout's the same, my setup's the same, but you know, sometimes we evolve, right? Okay. Back to the navigation. I just want to do one thing, which is, let's just give this a little bit of separation. So we'll do padding and margin, because margin is outside of the box model. So if we use margin, we should get the same spacing in between the elements, but a little bit of separation. So there's the li, and then there's the anchor element, and then we'll watch our mouse. Hover, 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 pointer, hover, hover, pointer. There we go. So we have a little bit of separation now in between. Yeah, I think that's probably a better way to go. And it looks nice and even now. So, and I think I'm going to remove this border. Do we like the maroon? I don't know. I kind of like the, let's try the, like the dark gray. So we have just slightly more contrast. Too much. Let's try light gray. Sometimes really light colors add way too much contrast. Yeah, that's way too much contrast. We'll stick with this. It's not a UI element, so it doesn't need to meet an accessibility standard. It's just decorative. So, and then I'm going to remove the border after the last of type. So we'll say main nav li last of type border bottom none. There. I like that. And then if we remove menu active, the drawer closes and our open button appears. And then if I Control Z, this opens and the open button disappears. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So let's write a tiny bit of JavaScript to handle that functionality. And we'll take this off. We'll add a script.js. And we'll go ahead and put that here. So we'll say script. We're going to say defer to make sure that it is loading after the page loads. We also have DOM content loaded as our event listener. ChatGPT has been trying to convince me that if you have defer, you don't need DOM content loaded. And I haven't been able, I feel like I can't really independently verify that. I mean, I found a Medium article that talked about it, but recommended that you still do both because they are very similar, but they mean different things. So. This site's not going to have a ton of JavaScript, but we can still do these different in functions. So we'll say, let's define the body. We'll get query selector, or query selector, body, and then we're going to get our buttons. We'll say query selector all, and these are the menu buttons. And then we need the open button specifically. So we'll say open, document, query selector, and this is the open button. Yeah, and Malik is saying that he uses both also. I think that's probably a safe thing to do. So, okay, and then we'll do a function, toggle menu, and We're going to cheat. We're just going to go glance at our last project because I remember nothing. Oh, that's not it. Right here. Honestly, we'll walk through it. So, if the open button exists, we will loop through the buttons. There are only two. Button, add event listener, click. If the button is active, so we'll define is active, and then we will toggle menu active on the body. If the menu active is present, it's positive or negative. It's true. If it's not on the body, it's false. So if active, we're going to set the attribute on the open button, aria-expanded true, else on the open button, aria-expanded false. Oh, and we did not initialize it. Toggle menu. It's pretty basic. And let's make sure that we can see everything so you can see. There we go. So we have menu active on the body class. We let the CSS do all the heavy lifting, all the transitions for us. And then we also see this aria expanded true. And then also that's removed from the DOM. So now we close aria expanded false and we remove that body class. So how does that look with keyboard navigation? And we have this nice transition now at 1024 pixels. So put my mouse over here and just using the keyboard to tab through. The first thing we hit, the first thing that gets focused by default is that button. And if I don't open the menu, if I don't want to see the menu, I just continue to tab. And there isn't anything that naturally gets focused until those links in the footer. And there aren't any other links here. There aren't any other buttons here. So that's completely normal. And it skips over the entire nav element because it's visibility hidden. And that's exactly what we want. We don't want the keyboard to focus on anything in the nav element until the user decides to do it. So I have focus back on that open button. I'll hit the enter key and that triggers that. That counts as the click event, hitting enter on the keyboard. So now that that's open, I tab again, and the first thing that gets focus is the close button. And that's absolutely correct because that's where it lands in the DOM. So I could hit enter and close that, or I can go back up and open it and we can enter through. And we want to probably take that border radius off. So we'll go ahead and do that. So here's, we'll say border. It's still getting the styles from the desktop. So there it is. Now we have it. So the last thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that if this is open and somebody tabs out of the menu is now going through the document, that they can hit the escape key to close that. And we will do that with another function. Function escape, toggle escape. And I also have this here. Oh, whoops. So again, if the open button exists, we'll add an event listener for a key down. And if the event key is the escape key and the body contains the menu active, we're going to remove the menu active class, which again does all the work for us, all the heavy lifting, all those transitions. And then we're going to change the attribute aria-expanded back to false. Whoops. So I open the menu, and then if I hit the escape key, it closes the menu, removes that class, and updates aria-expanded. Escape, boom. So I'll tab through. So now I'm outside of the navigation. I can hit escape and it closes it. So beautiful. We love it. We love it. And no one is here. Hello, no one. Welcome. Also a mod in the chat. We are doing well. How are you doing? We're happy you're here. Okay, navigation is done. I had some I have some adjustments that I want to make to the grid. So our grid here on our body text, or I guess in the hero section, this is 4 rems, but I have 7 rems. And that aligns with kind of what I did here. I want them to all be equal though. I don't want them to be as spaced out. So I'm going to change the gap in the footer to 4 rems, and then these containers can all be the same. The other thing that I want to do with this image in the footer is I want to make sure, because this can, let's look at these containers. We did grid also, and you can kind of see here, all of those containers are the same height because the containers take on the height of the tallest item. Let's make sure that for the aside, that our figure is basically width 100%, height 100%. And then we'll make sure that our image is object position inside that container. And then we don't have this gap down here. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to put a title in H3 above this last item. I didn't do that in the mockup, but I want to do it here. And we'll just say like socials or something like that. I don't think we need this. Let's go down to our footer. So we'll just do this. And so this is somebody who, I'm Sahil, left me a comment on my Tailwind video. Did you donate to Tailwind CSS? No excuses. That is not something that I would do in public. It is something that I would do in private. So, short answer, none of your business. But thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for engaging in the chat. I appreciate it. I stand by my video that even though I don't use Tailwind, I still respect them and the work they're doing and their popularity. And yes, I want to see them succeed, even though I don't use their products. So there's that. Okay, so we added socials as an H3 to this last container. Well, it's my chat, and I don't have to answer your questions. So, let's see here. I mean, just because you come into the chat and ask me questions doesn't mean that I have to answer them. And also, I think that donating in public is performative, and I would never do that in public. Those things are private. So, and I don't have to answer questions, and I don't have to take direction from people. So, okay, let's get back to it. So I don't mind a little friendly back and forth in the comments section on a video, but I definitely don't have to answer questions like that about whether or not I donated to Tailwind. So, and again, I would never do that in public. So I think it's kind of gross to do stuff like that. So they're a good organization, and I feel genuinely bad for them and what's happening for them. That whole funnel that they rely on is being completely disrupted by AI. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the conversation even is. And yeah, I totally respect them as an organization, and I wish them all the best. I really do. I wish them all the best. So, yeah, anyways, nothing against Tailwind. I also still stand by my obviously still stand by my my position as a channel that I want more people to know vanilla. I still think that's important, but I totally see the value in frameworks and libraries, and I've always said that. So, okay, back to this figure. So we only have one figure tag in the footer. So I think we could just do figure footer, right? Go right here. And I think I'm just going to say, well, we'll say, I don't think we need to do, we'll say width 100%, height 100%. And I think that'll take care of that. And then we will just position that image. And I purposely didn't, there we go. Now our height is getting the full height. Oh, it's really getting the full height. We really just wanted to give it the height. Why would it extend outside? Oh, we probably need to. Yeah. Height 100% tends to take into the account because I'm usually calculating an aspect ratio. That's why. It would be nice if it would just take the full height of the container. Usually what I'm doing is I'm putting a wrapper around this. I don't want to do that. I guess I could. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think a div's going to behave the same way. Maybe we do just want to do an aspect ratio. So maybe, I don't know, 4:3. Or we could just make it I guess we could just make it a square. That's maybe the best way to go. We'll just make it a square. Yeah, we'll do that. Yes, please. Go ahead, get a glass of water. Nothing's going to pop off. And if something does pop off, I'll take care of it. I'm here. We got it. Okay. So we'll say the footer, figure, image. We're going to say width 100%, height 100%, and then aspect ratio, or excuse me, object position, cover. There, I like that. And that resizes really nicely. Oh, I don't, but now it holds all of that open. Why can't it just take up the height of the container? I need to be better at understanding like min-max and things like that, which I don't understand very well because I haven't taken the time to learn them. Let's go with this for now. I have homework to do before Thursday, but we'll go with this for now. The next thing that I want to do, we need to make sure, well, I want to change my gap. Oh, no one says, in my country, we don't have authentic shops of pie, donuts, or muffins. I really want to try this. So you don't have bakeries? You don't have bakeries in your country? We have bakeries everywhere in the United States. It's a whole thing. So it's a little too convenient. We love a good bakery. Okay. I'm going to change this gap from 7 to 4, and then that's going to match the containers above. I like that already. So those are all aligned. And then this I know in the media query is 2 rems. I set this to 1 rem, but I'm going to change it to 2. Again, just so it looks a little even. Also, there's something about this with only 1 rem I don't quite like. So on desktop it's 4 rems. We don't need this. I'll just change this to 2. And I think we are going to want to change our padding over here too. $358. Yeah, I do like that a little better. I think we need to change the padding on the edges here as well. 380. Yeah, it just gives it a lot more breathing room. Yeah, I like that a lot better. And then let's clamp this, the primary logo, line 138. We'll try 2 rems for mobile, and then maybe, I don't know, 4 VW for that in-between size. That's pretty small. We might need so let's say two, but I think we just need maybe a bigger transition. And we might want to adjust some of our padding inside of these containers. I'm fine if this wraps, but honestly, this is perfect down to 300. And then let's adjust this padding. So I think what did we say? It's 600. I think we could even adjust that. What are our media queries for? So here we have 10 on the hero. And then we've got 1400, 1200, 600. What are we changing it? So we're changing the gap in the padding at 1400. Okay. And then at 1200, I think we need another media query at 1024. We'll change it to 8. We'll do 8 rems on top. So that's the hero. Eight rems, 2 rems, 2 rems. And then I think at 600, we can reduce that even more, down to 6. Yeah, that works. And then let's adjust the padding in these articles. So maybe we do want, so we change this to 2. We go from 4 to 2, maybe at 600. It is a good idea to change it back to 1. And then our articles, those can also go to 1 at 600. Yeah, I think that looks better. Yeah, that is a much better transition. But I still like the 2 rem gap for the footer. Maybe not. Maybe we do need to change the footer padding at 600. See, this is why you can't, it's not prescriptive. There isn't like a formula for breakpoints and padding. Sometimes you kind of have to let the design dictate these things. What looks good when you first start suddenly doesn't look good once you get towards the tail end. So just be flexible with it. Let's just change this to 1 rem, and we'll change the gap to 1 rem. Yeah, that does look better. And we'll write a little copyright date also. This looks very nice on mobile, I think. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and push this up to Git. And then we'll take a look on iPhone, and we'll take a look on Safari and Firefox. But let's get everything pushed first. Responsive, Navbar, CSS and JS, extra styles. Okay. And Rahul says, I also updated the responsive video gallery code to dynamically render content from a JSON file, which I wanted to do from day one. No additional setup is required. Feel free to merge it if you find it useful. It's easy to understand. So I actually spent I spent some time thinking about that and thinking what I want the approach to be for that. And here's what I decided. I decided that by default, everything is going to be static, and I have a very specific reason why. It's because when I was a WordPress developer, I used to buy and download things like this. And if it had been dynamic with JavaScript and JSON, it would not have done me any good because I would have had to rewrite it all in PHP as a PHP WordPress template. So it was more helpful for me when I was buying or using UI elements to just get static assets, and then I could redo it however I needed it for the project that I was working on. So that decision comes from my experience in WordPress. And if you haven't really spent a lot of time working in content management systems, not even necessarily WordPress, like the last job that I had, I worked in a content management system that was proprietary, but all the templating was done with Velocity. So again, it wouldn't really have done me any good to have like a JSON file because I would have had to redo all of it in the template in Velocity, and Velocity is like this open source Java based templating, so which I actually kind of enjoyed. So anyways, I think what I'll do is make a branch. That's what I think that I'll do is I'll make a branch and include instructions on a way to do it dynamically with JSON, but I'm not going to merge it into main. Maybe I'll just make a branch called JSON and include that in the instructions. I think that might be the best way to approach that, but I don't want everything by default to be JSON or dynamic, if that makes sense. So let me know what your thoughts are on that, how you feel about my explanation or believe me when I tell you, I spent a lot of time thinking about that. Should I do that? There was something about making it dynamic that gave me pause, and I needed to sit and think about what my approach was going to be. So, and also thank you. Thank you, Rahul, because you have made, this isn't your first pull request. You have made some excellent contributions to this. And I 100%, I really appreciate the UI issue that you found, the fix that you found. I believe me when I tell you, I find, I appreciate all of that. So there's that. Okay, let's take a look at this let's start with Firefox. I don't anticipate there being any problems, but those are obviously famous last words. So far, so good. Everything looks nice. Not sure how I feel about this border, even though I stand by needing a border there. I wish this border, the transparency for this border would just match the transparency of the background. It doesn't, and I don't really know why. Yeah, so I might remove the border. I don't know. And this all looks really good. So far, so good for desktop. Let's keyboard through desktop. And this H1, it's not a link, so it doesn't get focus. And the only links are really the social media and the main links. So that's fine. Let's see on desktop or mobile how it looks. We can escape to close. Yeah, that is working. Let's check Safari, and then we'll check iOS. So if we're on desktop, you can tab through. The mobile styles all look good. We can escape to close. All right, I am satisfied with that. It's not a complicated design, so. We'll go ahead and check iOS on Chrome and Safari. All right, one moment. All right. All right, let's send this. All right, you're gonna make me do it the hard way. Here we go. I think this is it. And we definitely have some caching in Chrome, so that's fine. Let's just go ahead and check Safari. Usually Safari, the caching is a little friendlier, and by the time we check Safari, Chrome has caught up. That seems to be how it goes. Just copy this. Why is this not deploying? So, okay, I pushed, right? Did I? Yeah, I did. I just pushed 9 minutes ago. Let's see here. Git commit. Yep, git push origin. Oops. Wait a second. Did I? Is GitHub just not deploying? Oh, the deployment is just, what's going on here? So the deployment is taking time. Okay. So, and Rahul says, no problem. The JSON branch could also be a good option. Please check out Script.js. There may be a few useful tricks in there. Yeah, it's not updated, so the deployment is just taking time. So I will do that. Thank you, Rahul. I appreciate that. So, okay, well, while that's deploying, I don't think that, I mean, I'm happy with what's happening here. And we can do a quick QA on mobile on Thursday too, if this takes too long. So I'm not anticipating any problems. I think we made some good progress today. We have a little time left. So here's what I think we should do. Let's go ahead and redeploy this. So with static websites, you know, HTML doesn't have any templating, right? In a lot of my personal projects, I will use PHP because PHP works perfectly seamlessly on a LAMP stack, and that's what I tend to deploy. You can't use live server for a LAMP stack, and I don't necessarily want to use PHP for this because I want to make it widely available to the widest range of people, right? And I think just static HTML is the best way to approach that. If I was going to use PHP templating, I would use MAMP, which is MAMP, MySQL Apache. It's the Mac version of a local server that will handle PHP, right? For a live server, the approach to building these inner pages is just going to be that we have to copy this page. So the best way to do that is you really need to make sure that your home page is completely done. Your navigation is in place, your styles are in place. I mean, it's okay if your styles change, but you really don't want your markup to change because once you start copying things, you have to duplicate those efforts. That's why templating is so nice, but it's okay. This is still going to be okay. So we'll make an about page, and I'm going to do a directory with an index.html that leaves us a nice clean URL. And then we'll do a menu page, and then we'll do a contact page. And then here's our index. So let's just go ahead and make a copy of this into each of these. So we'll save as in the about page, and then we'll save as in the contact, and then we're going to save as in our menu page. And then of course our home page is index.html in the root. And, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm so sorry. here we go. So here's what I did. I made directories for About, Contact, and Menu, and I saved a copy of the home page into each of those directories. And then, of course, our home page is the index.html in the root directory, and that's exactly how it works on the server as well. So here's our home page, and it's showing us up here where we are. So here's menu. So we'll go coffee but no tea, and then we'll update the title, menu. And then the other thing we need to do is we have to update this. This is only an H1 on the home page. On the inner pages, this needs to be a div, and then the H1 is going to be the title of the page, and we haven't set that yet. So that's for menu, and then here's contact. So I'll put just a pipe, and I'll say contact so we know what page that is. And then I'm going to change this to a div. And then here's our about page. And I will also change that to a div. Oh, and you know what I should have done? I should have taken my own advice. I didn't actually update the navigation. That's fine. So let's actually update the navigation. This is a perfect example of the thing I just told you to do that I did not do, which is we didn't actually update this navigation. So we'll go ahead and do this now. The home page is, I'm just going to put a slash for the root. Well, I think we're going to have to update these also because we're in a directory. So we need to do // // Good thing we only have four pages. So I think we have to do // and then the about page is the current page. So we'll just say // right? But I'm not going to say index.html because I don't want that on the URL. And then the menu is // menu. And then the contact is // contact. And again, I'm not going to put index.html because I don't want that on the end of the URL. You can do it. I just want to keep it tidy. So, and then the about page, let's go ahead and put a class on the page that's active. Normally I would do this with JavaScript, but since all of this is static and not dynamic, you can just put it right in here. So we're going to put an active class on the page that we're viewing, and then this active class will be included with our focus, hover, active states. So this is the about page. Here's the contact page. We'll update these paths to the CSS files. We'll update this path to the style sheet, the main style sheet, and the JavaScript file. And then our home page again is going to be // Our about page is going to be // about. The menu page is going to be // menu. And then the contact page is the current page. And again, I'll put an active class on the contact page, and we'll add that to our CSS also. So here's our contact page, and now here's our menu. So we'll update the path to normalize, update the path to style.css, update the path to the scripts. Home is // About is // This is the menu, so it's just going to be // for the current directory. And then contact is // And then we're on the menu page, so we'll put a class of active. Okay, so I think this will work. So here we are. We're in the root, so we're on the home page. Hang on. Do I need to like relaunch this? Let's see. I'm going to relaunch. Let's just close all of them. Relaunch index.html. So here's our home page. Here's our about page. Let's see. I know I updated them. Oh, did I update the home page though? No, I didn't. Okay, home. This is also the root. Here's the about page. It doesn't need to be, I think it just needs to be about though, because it's already in the root. Same with menu. Same with contact. And then we'll make sure the home page has a class of active. All right, so there we go to about. We have to update our paths also for those images. And contact. Okay, so we'll make sure that we update those. One of the benefits of templating, right? But it's only a 4-page site, so it will be just fine. So right here, we want to make sure that we are images. There we go. Same here. And right here. Oh, and we're probably going to have to make sure that image in the footer is also working. There we go. So there's our contact page. There's our menu page. There's home, about, menu. Why do I have to click that twice? I don't know. Let's add that active class so we can see in the navigation. And then let's see, this is why I don't do really hardly any multi-page websites, because this gets so messy if you're not using any kind of templating. So let's see here. Menu. So right here for desktop, this would just be active. So now you can see contact page, menu. Okay, did I screw something up? I must have screwed something up because contact. Did I spell something wrong? About contact menu. Let's just take out that dot. Okay, so here's the menu page. Here's the contact page. Here's the about page. Okay, so here's home. Should be able to click anywhere in the button. About, menu, menu, contact. Okay, so on the menu page, when I click contact, so what did I do on the menu page? So here's the menu page. Oh, right here. Same right here. I did this wrong too. There we go. Okay. So now about, menu, about, contact, menu, about, home. There we go. And we can also see, so we see it in our URL, but we also see the title. And I know it's really tiny, but that's how we know it's working. It's messy. It definitely gets messy, but our images are working. Our URLs are working. We have our titles in place. The images paths are all working. So now Thursday, we're going to start building the contact page. Our navigation is in place. Everything is in place. Our styles, core styles. So this is why when you build a website and you take the approach of getting the home page done before you do anything else, look how much of the work is done for you. The header, the footer, the core site styles. You've made tons of decisions about your grid, your layout, how it looks on mobile, your responsive navigation is done. You've made all these decisions. Now you build these inner pages, and literally we're just going to come here on these inner pages. I'm going to collapse the header. Here's the main, and here's the footer. This is it. This is all we need to do now is work on this main. Header, footer, responsive, everything else is done. So this is why I think this approach is so solid when you're dealing with multi-page projects. Just pick the home page, get all this stuff done, and I think your inner pages are going to fly by. So that's my approach. Malik says, good work as usual. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Rahul says, I also worked as a WordPress theme developer for about a year. I used XAMPP, Flywheel, shifted to Laragon until they made it premium. Laragon is the best. I've never used Laragon. I tried Flywheel. You're going to be shocked to find out that I don't like any process that is too automated. I like to do things myself. I like to do things from scratch. I've always enjoyed understanding the process, and I don't like too much automation. It's just, I do what I like. It's not that I am rejecting automation or process or systems. I just like understanding. And so when I'm practicing, and this is just me practicing, I tend to do everything from scratch. So, but of course, if I had a job, I mean, well, when I was working as a developer or if I was freelancing or contracting, I would never expect my clients to do that. So, yeah, and I always use MAMP. I liked MAMP. So what did I use? I started as on Windows and I used WAMP. Then I switched to Mac in 2015 and I've pretty much always used, I used WAMP on Windows, W-A-M-P. Then I switched to Mac and I was MAMP. And at one point I had a premium license for MAMP. I don't, I think that's expired. I mean, I think it's still good for the version of MAMP that I purchased at the time, but I'm sure they've upgraded and I would have to pay to upgrade and I don't use it that much. So there's that. Okay, nobody cares. Anyways, whew, we got a lot done today. I'm very happy with this. So come back on Thursday. We are going to use FormSpree to build and power our form. I think FormSpree works really, really well. I use the free version. Let's see here. They're not even going to show you. They're not even going to show you what the plans are. Here they are. I use the free version, even though it's pretty reasonable if you get a lot of traffic. I use the free forever. So I'm going to show you how I do this with the free version of FormSpree, build a nice little contact form. And yeah, that's what we're going to do on Thursday. I've learned the hard way, you can't really test these locally, so we have to make sure that this gets deployed in order to test it. Is this still deploying? Oh, why didn't this deploy? What don't you like? Let's just... failed to deploy. It doesn't say why. Can we just ask it to do it again? Here. View logs. Error timed out. So is this just a GitHub problem? Rerun this job. How do I know if it worked? Okay, so this is I've never had a GitHub page not deploy. You can switch the branch. Okay, let's do that. Or here, I guess we go to settings, pages. Main, save. I mean, it's hard to believe that I did anything that would cause it to fail. It's like it's like vanilla code. So why would that not? Okay. I'm going to solve this problem myself. We don't have to do this now. Entertainment is here. Hello, how are you? Entertainment would like to be a moderator. Well, I don't think we need any more moderators, but I'll keep you in mind. I feel like we already have a chat full of mods. But thank you for showing interest, and I'll put you on the list. How does that sound? Okay, and this is compiling again, so we'll see how it goes. All right, I think this is enough for today. Everybody, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. I'm enjoying this project. Come back Thursday, we'll work on the contact pages, and then this weekend we should be able to build out those inner pages. I need to go find examples of menus. Menus that we want to build online. We should be able to find some bakeries online that have proper menus. Yeah, so that'll be my research this weekend. And yeah, we're happy to have you, Entertainment. We love having you. So keep hanging out with us. So I tend to add mods as I need them. So, and I think right now we're doing pretty good. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. Do me a favor, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. We're here Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We just practice vanilla. We just practice the basics. That's it. Not because frameworks are bad, libraries are bad. I don't think that at all. I just think people should know how to do a little vanilla. I think it'll help you in the long run. So, with that being said, have a great rest of your day, wherever you are, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.